Hi everybody, this is Nick from AVLI. Today I am going to talk a little bit about working within the constraints of your LMS and how to use basic Excel spreadsheet functions to add to the depth of your LMS and its grading system. I think that the LMS and like the move toward LMSs with schools has been pretty good, and I think it makes for a really um, cohesive school in a way, in that all teachers are using the same grade book and it's extremely transparent and live, easy to post assignments, easy to grade, and give quick feedback, etc. I think it's easy to navigate for parents, and it's a lot easier to deal with things like individual learning plans, etc. So those things have been really good. However, there are some issues with regard to maybe some higher level or more progressive practices like student choice and assignments, or grading where you are adding to your grade throughout the year, as opposed to the kind of more punitive grading system that's traditional, where you more or less start with 100 and figure out how much of that you're going to keep throughout the year. So if you think of something like even just a basic 5 point uh, reading quiz, if when I went to school, if I got a 3 out of 5 on a reading quiz, I would think to myself, oh man, that's a 60 out of 100. That's not good. And those 2 points are gone. And then that would apply the pressure. I would think next time I had to do it, and like the anxiety would go up, and I would know that that was in the book, and I needed to do better, etc. Whereas if you're thinking about adding your grade, where a student gets a 3 out of 5, you can say that's +3 out of however many points there will be throughout the year, and there are lots of different ways to make that up, or lots of different ways to add to that, which is more closely to the way that we actually learn. When I think about riding a bike, for instance, like I'm pretty good at riding a bike. I can ride a bike. I can ride a bike for a pretty long distance. I can ride a bike with my kids attached to the back. I can ride it on vacation. I trust myself riding a bike without worrying about whether I'm good enough or whether I'm going to fall. So I've learned to ride a bike pretty well, and I have fallen off. I fell off a lot of times when I was younger, and I've even fallen off a couple times, like as I've been a little bit older and gotten a little bit too maybe hubristic with my controls or something like that. I've fallen off the bike. Okay, but the idea is that you make that mistake and then you overcome it. I am not still penalized for falling off my bike a long time ago. And if anything, falling off my bike made it so that I recognize that it's possible to fall off, so that I know that it hurts when it falls off, when I fall off, and so that I make corrections so that I don't fall off anymore. The falling off has made me better at riding the bike, right? So in school, when we give a quiz and we take away 2 points, um, we are penalizing that student at the end of the term for something that they did in the beginning, when maybe it would be better to have a more progressive grade that they build throughout the year. LMSs don't work well with that. Those live grade books don't work well with that. And It's also difficult to differentiate. Like the different categories are typically things like quizzes, essays, right? And if you want to get into the individual skill and actually put in a grade for that, it can get extremely clunky, difficult to understand for the parent. So and for the student. So what I'm offering here today, I talked about in an earlier video, and this is just kind of an addendum to that. And this would be the idea of using the Excel spreadsheet and its just some basic functions to complement the LMS, to give more information that you can even give out to parents and students. So let me give you an example. This is kind of what I use in my class. So I do have a traditional grade book where it says what the student has out of what grade. But I also break down. I teach AP English, and I break down the the course into reading skills over here in blue, and then writing skills over here in red. The reading skills are 2 letters, and the writing skills are 3. And each of these can be traced back to a specific AP skill that would be in like the handbook they give you, right? So each of these can, if you get deeper into it, it could be 1.5 or whatever the skill number is. You could point it back to that, and say, for instance, like transitions. This one's transitions. It would have 3 or 4 different things that branch off of it. But for the sake of the student and the teacher and parent kind of knowing what that is, I just have abbreviated it to transition. And there's another document where they can see which skills go into that. And this is just from like the first week of school this year. I just use it as a really good example. And basically what we're looking to do here is, as the students are completing assignments, they're getting points, and those points are going into their grade book. But I'm also distributing those points across these skill columns, right? So that I can tell the student, and the student can see for his or herself, or the parent can see not just what grade they have out of 90, but like how well they're doing in each category, right? So think of something like basketball. Like LeBron James is the best player, and if you were to need a 3-point basket late in the game, he would not be the first person in the league you would choose. Okay, he is better than Stephen Curry at basketball overall. He's better at defense, he's better at offense, he's better at everything except for 3-point shooting. Stephen Curry's better than him at 3-point shooting, right? You would rather have him do that, and so we can look at that in sports, and we can tell really well which guy does what thing better. Okay, baseball, like, yeah, you want this guy up to hit a home run, but if he needs to lay down a bunt, that's just not the guy we want up to lay down a bunt. He might be better, he might be paid higher, but we want this bunt specialist to come in and lay down the bunt because we need a bunt right now. Okay, and so school, we have a difficult time with this because a lot of times we'll say things like, oh, to do better in this class, you needed to get better quiz grade. Or to do better in this class, we need to do better on our essays or something like that. Follow my feedback and do better on the essay. But here you can actually show them where their point totals have gone and how that is affecting their actual class profile. So this is just sort of Kira Personalis applied to academics in a statistical manner. You can use this information to form groups in class, or to make individual assessments for different students based on things that they need help with. I personally use this info by the end of the semester. It's very nuanced, and then I use it to make tests for each student. Like I make a test for each kid, and can really test them on stuff that I know will be challenging and things that they have not practiced as often throughout the semester. Okay, so I want to show a little bit about how to make something like this from scratch. Particularly, there have been some questions regarding this arrow system and how that works. So what we're looking to do here, when you create a graph like this, first going to pick an area, and then what you will pick here is format as a table, and this is where you can kind of pick what you want it to look like. So I'm feeling orange today, so let's go orange. Hit orange here, and then maybe column 1, I'm going to do names, and we'll just do skill 1, skill 2, skill 3, skill 4, and skill 5. You can label this whatever you want. Okay, so here I'm going to put student A, here I'm going to put student B, student C. What I like about formatting it as a table is you can start to use these things to sort easier and start to figure out who's doing well in which skill, which I'll get to in a second. Okay, so now you've got these names, and then you've got these different categories. Let's just say these are different skills. All right, and let's say on this one, let's say these are all, there's 5 possible points in each one. This student has a 5, a 3, a 1. This student has a 5, a 2, a 4. Just gonna do some random numbers in here just to create difference. And they're doing well on this one. Okay, so now I can sort these by pressing this down arrow, and I can do largest to smallest, so I can see who's doing best, better, or worse in each category. And then you can also sort over here by ABC order, which is probably typically how you're going to want to do it. But then there's some visual that you can give this to. So if you highlight a table like this and you go up here to conditional formatting, okay, you go to conditional formatting, and go to new rule. All right, and here's where you get to pick what you would like it to look like. So I usually do like a data bar or an icon set, but you can pick any of these things. Icon set usually gives you the most options. So you can choose anything like this. This looks like a cell phone, like how much reception is in the cell phone. But if you do like let's see, you do like a 2-color scale, you can just have it be, go up between yellow and orange or something like that. I think icon set gives you the most data. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to use the one that I use, which is these arrows. Now you can set this to whatever you want, the value here, and what it's going to do is compare it to what the other numbers are in the set. Okay, so I typically leave it at something like 20, 40, 60, 80. But if there's a certain point by which you want the students all to have to get to, you could even change this to like 50 and then move it up from there, right? 50, 60, and go 75, and then go 90. And it's going to give you percentiles here. And so now when I get out of here, it's going to show me which students are below the 50th percentile, which students are higher than that, and then which students are in the highest. So as you do this, like, you're going to go through each of these. Now, as I put in a new student here, so now we have student D, and then as I put in a new one of those, it's going to actually continue to keep that format all the way down. Okay, so now I have student E, and he's got like 7, and now see how it changes everything. Okay, so you can use this to like actually determine not just like, okay, this student has this percent in my class and therefore I should leave him alone. Maybe he's got a 95, I don't need to worry about him. No, he's got a 95, but he's only got a 2 in skill 1, and some guys have 7s and 5s. So this is an area that I know that in comparison to the rest of the class, he needs some like remediation, or maybe needs homework in this area or whatever. Maybe I could challenge him or her here. Okay, and then one other thing I really like to do with this is to make a cell at the bottom. What you're gonna do is you're gonna put equals, and then you want it to be the average of, so you hit equals average here, but what you want it to be the average of is this one, all of this row. Okay, and now when I hit that, it's going to give me what the actual average number of this is. Okay, and so when a guy's got a 3 and the arrow's down, we can say, oh, that's just because there's a lot of students that are doing a lot higher than that. However, we can check down here, and if he's got a 3, the average is 3.6, he's probably right on course. Okay, so even though this arrow is down, we can expect that number to go up as more, as he does more work in this area and these other guys kind of level off, right? This number, like, we're going to see this arrow start to go up for that student. You can kind of use it as a predictor. Whereas if the average is 4.2 and a student still has 1 in a particular area, that student's lagging behind for sure. Like, that's lagging behind. Then it's also a nice little check for the teacher, because if I do averages in all of these columns, and I get the average of this one now, and I can start to see, for instance, like which ones are scoring more points. If this is skill 1 and skill 2, obviously this is negligible at the beginning, but if this one's at 15 and this one's at 4 for the average, then I know as a teacher, like, I can use this to assess my own performance, right? And I can start to say, oh, I need to design a class where we're working on skill 2, or maybe give some homework or optional homework or extra credit for skill 2, because even though there are students that, have an up arrow, meaning that they're in the top 10% of that skill, top 10% isn't that hard to get, because I haven't done a good enough job of giving enough work or assignments in that category. Okay, so again, this is not necessarily meant to replace the grade book, but this would be something that you can give to students and parents, say at Christmas break. You can send this home to them and say, okay, here is the grade as On Campus has it, or Canvas, or whatever your LMS is. It's a 90, but I want you to know that in that 90, he is still struggling in skill 1. And in the second semester, even though your daughter had a 90, I will really be helping her with skill 1. She is not finished. She has an A, but I'm going to help her in this area. Likewise, other way. Okay, your student has a 75. However, they're doing very well in skill 1. Okay, and this is authentic, positive feedback, right? So you're actually sort of fleshing out the grade and saying, what does this mean? And you're using these statistics to do that.